Hey, how you doing? This is John, and welcome to John's Long Box. This is Sunday Comics, and I'm continuing the series with X-Men. We're, I guess, a little under halfway through. I was going to do until John Byrne left. Let's see how that goes. How's everybody doing? How's everybody's Sunday? Is it snowy? Is it cold where you are? Let me take a sip of coffee. I stayed up till 6 in the morning writing a story, went to bed and woke up, and man, I'm still sleepy. I wrote the first draft of a story, and it's not working. I gotta redo it. There's a couple. Once I was done and I started rereading it, and then my eyes started getting really droopy. I realized I left out a couple of things that I really wanted to put. But that's the way I work. I just frantically write a story, just get it out on page, get a draft done, and then reread it, and then work on it like that. So, how's everybody going? How's everybody doing? Let's continue with the X-Men. I'll just filibuster for a minute or two. I remember vividly where I got this comic. And by this point, this is 123, this is 1979. By this point, I started to care about condition. I think at this point, going forward, you're going to see all these comics are in really good condition. Before this, I would put them in the folder, bring them to school. I didn't care if kids bent them or whatever. But then I started. Now I was just like, they're getting too expensive. This is 40 cents. I better take care of them. And I'm not sure if I started bagging and boarding them at this point. I don't think so. I don't think I started bagging and boarding them yet. Maybe sooner. For all I know, this might be a second copy. The original copy that I bought in the store might be long gone or destroyed. I don't know. I don't remember that, but I remember where it was when I bought it. This I got at same 7-Eleven. That was like my main comic book source at this point. My local comic book store wasn't open yet. I'm sure there was a comic book store in my area, but I just didn't know about it yet. My main source of comic books was the 7-Eleven, Charlie's or Fred's or Ann's. It was the same stationery store. It changed hands a few times, and Sven's and Howie's. Those were my main comic book sources. Between those, I got everything. And then pretty soon, the Incredible Pulp opened. I don't remember exactly what year. 84. So I'm about 4 or 5 years away. About 2 years away from the comic book store opening. Let's check out the comic, the comments. So first off, Heroic Tales 2 is still available on my comic. Murder World from Omnipro B. Kyojo says, greetings from Raleigh, North Carolina. Marcus Kellegrew saying hello to them. To him. Happy Purple Face Open Box. Okay. PBE, he says, good morning. It's overcast, but not that cold. What is the temperature right here? Let me see. 7 degrees here, so that's pretty cold. 7 degrees. Having a blessed Sunday. Sunday comics must go on. Yeah, I know it was rough to wake up. The alarm went off, and I did not. I was seriously. This is the closest I ever came to just canceling Sunday comics because I went to bed at 6. 100%. Good morning. And everybody saying hello to each other. Okay, that's cool. That's cool. All right. So we'll filibuster for another minute. It was weird. I hit play and StreamYard said, too busy. Try again in 30 to 60 seconds. I never saw that before. So I panicked. I was like, what's going on? What's going on? StreamYard's acting weird. But second time I hit it, I waited 30 to 60 seconds. I hit it again, and it was fine. It was fine. So let's look at this cover over here. We got all this X-Men glory. And again, I wasn't the savviest about art and creator stuff at this point. And to be honest, until I took it out of the box and looked at it now, I just looked at the cover and never noticed that it was Terry Austin was the artist. I always thought it was John Byrne and Terry Austin because I recognize Terry Austin's inks anywhere. And a lot of what I recognize is John Byrne's art. I'm starting to realize it's Terry Austin's inks. But you could just look at that arcade face. That's, to me, that looks like John Byrne, but it says it right there, Terry. Oh, you can't see it. It says right there, Terry Austin. Which begs the question: Did he ever do the art choice on the comic? Did he was just an inker? Did he ever just alone do the interiors of a full comic? I don't know. Maybe Marcus knows. But look at this. Here we have the X-Men trapped inside of a big pinball. Now, I forget what year Tommy came out from The Who with Pinball Wizard. I'm sure it's been out for a couple of years at this point. But the mid-'70s, pinball was big. It was a big cultural thing, especially when The Who came out and did that Pinball Wizard in the movie Tommy. And it was, pinball was big. And we used to go down to the local arcade, put our quarters on the pinball machine, and that represented who was next. And there was a couple of kids that were just pinball wizards. They would just play and play and play. And it was, we would crowd around and watch them and cheer them and stuff. When was the last time anybody went and played pinball? My wife and I, we haven't done it in a while now. But we would go. There's an arcade in the local mall. It's like an 80s retro arcade, and you pay one price, and you get like a band, so you could leave, you could go get something to eat, and you could come back. And they got all stand-up arcade games and pinball machines, and we would go there and play. Haven't done it in a while. We would like joke and call it an 80s day. Well, we're gonna go spend time at the mall. We go down. There's a couple of stores my wife and I like to check out. We eat at the food court, which is right by the arcade, so that's real convenient. And then play. We'll do that again, maybe in a couple of weeks. That's fun. But there we go. So this guest starring the Amazing Spider-Man, and what else can I say? The weird coloring, it's got all that yellow, but then the X-Men stand out pretty good. I don't know. I like this cover. What do you guys think? Okay, from this point forward, I'll do the comic. Comments. What would Jim Shooter say, John, if you missed your writing deadline? He'd yell at me. He that's one of the reasons he was unpopular with the hippies that worked at Marvel, is he enforced deadlines. I imagine they were a bunch of hippies that just were like, you comic books, man. And then Jim Shooter came around and was like, listen, man, this is a business. And they didn't like him. He made Marvel on time, profitable, and the creatives hated him. They hated him for it, but he was what Marvel needed. They couldn't see the forest for the trees. If not for Jim Shooter, maybe Marvel would have went under. And then would all those hippies be? We got Ben Sabar, voice actor, says hello, good morning, how are you? So let's open it up and check it out. We got Battlestar Galactica posters and paraphernalia. Yeah, the T-shirts, $5 for a T-shirt. How much is a poster? Oh, everything's $5. Poster. Wow, that's a lot of money for a poster, right? $5 for when a T-shirt's $5. I don't know. I guess it's okay. Listen, stop me if you heard it. This one, but stop me if you heard it. But this one will kill you. Dun dun dun. Chris Claremont, John Byrne, Terry Austin production. Wow. Okay, so Chris Claremont, John Byrne, Terry Austin production. So they're all listed as the creators, which means to me, Chris Claremont's a plotter and writer, John Byrne's a plotter and probably layouts, and Terry Austin's a plotter and finishes. That's what I'm thinking. So maybe John Byrne needed to scale back a little bit on the writing choice. He was working too hard. I don't know. Marcus, was he doing other comics at this time? I'm pretty sure he was. I'm sure he was doing more than one title a month. And maybe he just needed to catch up on something. So Terry Austin was like given a lift. So aided and abetted by Tom Wazowski, letterer, Glynis Wynn, colorist, Roger Stern, editor, and Jim Shooter, editor-in-chief. So now we got Spider-Man swinging around. This is through Madison Square Park. This is the arch there. We would walk through here. We would get off the E train, me and my friends, and then we would walk over. We would go what we called Punk Rock Pizza, but it was St. Mark's Pizza, and then get pizza. Then we would go to CBGB's. Sometimes we'd go to CBGB's and get pizza on the way home, but either way, pizza was involved. Then we would walk through that to the E train to Penn Station and then back home to go see the whatever hardcore matinee on Sundays at CBGB's back then. Just fun times. And as an aside, there was always people recruiting for cults around there. And I remember my friend Phil. The guy just was like a poor soul, and he always got like preyed upon by these recruiters for cults. Sometimes it would just be like just normal guys. Sometimes it would be like hot chicks or whatever. Just always he was like, oh, just looked like a poor soul. So I was like, I want to get recruited for a cult. I want to see what goes on. And I used to hang out there. Nobody ever recruited me. They didn't want me in their damn cults. So screw you, cults. I'm not good enough for you. Start my own cult. There you go. John Byrne's Spider-Man, so perfect. It is, isn't it? It is. KO just is amazing. I just love that. I really do like when they put the webs under his arms. And there's a lot of inconsistencies between artists when they draw Spider-Man. Sometimes he has the webs between the arms, sometimes he doesn't. And I always chalk that up to that Spider-Man was poor and he always made his own costumes. That, you know what I mean? So in my mind, I had like a continuity. Okay, the costume's different because Spider-Man can't, he doesn't have the same materials every time. He's not that good of a, whatever. Peter Parker making his costume. Or maybe the webbing got ripped off and he just didn't fix it on this particular uniform. Whatever. Whereas the Fantastic Four, they had money. They probably had a machine that pumped out those costumes. So they were always like uniform. Iron Man was always tinkering on his armor, so that was why it would always look different. But Spider-Man, that's to me why it always looked, to explain the inconsistencies between different artists. It was Spider-Man, one man couldn't, he couldn't do it himself with a needle and thread. So here we go. Just a little note. Typical. I'm heading for a date with Sissy Ironwood, a gorgeous gal who really digs me, and I'm miserable. So that woe is me, Charlie Brown. Sissy Ironwood. That was a girlfriend of Spider-Man's that I forgot. Yeah, there's a blast from the past. Sissy Ironwood. I think she was another blonde, right? And I wonder if the name Ironwood is from Kate Ironwood. She spelt it IYRONWOD, but but most people like myself called her Cat Ironwood for the longest time until I talked to her and she corrected me. It was Ironwood. So I wonder if this, and she was like a letter hack, and she was known to the Marvel staff at the time. She wrote a big letter to. She wrote lots of letters when she was a kid in the late '60s, and she wrote what she called the Book of Vishanti. And the Book of Vishanti was basically all of Doctor Strange's spells and the rules for his spells, like magical arcana. And she sent it to Marvel, and they used it. They incorporated it into into Doctor Strange. So she was known to Marvel. So I wonder if Sissy Ironwood is subconsciously on purpose, whatever, nod to her. I never thought of that before. All right. So, okay. Some people are just gullible and get manipulated easy. You kind of have to look out for them, Yeah, that's you just you just described Phil. The webbing is probably gliding through the air. The weather, yeah. I mean, Spider-Man doesn't have that power, but I don't know. It just looks cool. I remember a friend of mine when I was a kid. So I don't know, in '79, I was uh, I was 9 years old. No, I was 11 years old. So somewhere around then, I was drawing, and I always, you always draw Spider-Man or whatever, and I'm drawing the webbing under his arms, and I just remember somebody was just like, "Yeah, what are you giving him, hairy armpits?" You know. So I always thought of that, like, is the webbing. What if it was just his arm? He's mutated. He got bit by a spider. What if that's his armpit hair? All right, let's check out the. Oh, Oscar says, "Good morning, good morning, Oscar. How you doing? How's everything?" Oscar, as you know, he's been coloring my comics. He's also doing the art on Eddie is Doomed. Love this issue. Me too. Me too. This issue garnered a lot of talk with me and my friends. Look, Battlestar Galactica, the original that I grew up in. Yeah, you had so many battles. I never had the Battlestar Galactica toys. I loved Battlestar Galactica. I never had the toys though. I always wanted at least the ships. The plastic toy ships, the Colonial Viper and the Cylon Raider, I think they were called. I always wanted those. Those were cool toys. But I remember, Star Wars was big. Everybody was playing Star Wars. I love Star Wars too. And the Battlestar Galactica came out. And I don't know what it was like by you, but by me, a lot of kids made fun of it because it was like a cheaper version of Star Wars, a knockoff version of Star Wars. And the first couple of episodes, it was big, but it died off really quick. So me being me, I was like, well, I'm gonna like it. It's gonna be mine. And I was like, I watched every episode. I followed all the story and the lore. A couple of friends, not a lot, but we would like discuss it every week. I loved it. I was very protective of it to the point, like when they did the remake, I refused to watch the remake out of loyalty to the original show. That and Starbuck was a woman, so I have like a zero tolerance policy for race swap, gender swap, ethnic swaps, and stuff like that. Ethnic swaps, I could, especially in sci-fi, but you know what I mean. So when I saw it was like a Starbuck is like the ladies' man, and now they turned it into a woman. I was like, I still have never seen the remake. Heard it was pretty good. Good morning, What Geeks Do. Good morning, how are you? I had the Colonial Viper, Cylon Raider, Cylon base. They had a base star toy. How big is that? I didn't know that. The Cylon Centurion, Starbuck, and the Daggett. Yeah, my friend Sean had almost everything as far as the figures. I've never seen the spaceship toys in real life. I've only seen commercials of them and in ads. So, but they look cool. Let's turn the page. I'll be here all night. So, I remember this page so vividly. So we got Spider-Man swinging around. This is this is like the artsy fartsy part. This is like Bleecker Street. If the Manhattan is consistent with real Manhattan, that they had that arch that was at Madison Square Park. So this is like near the college. This is all artsy fartsy. CBGB's is like right over here. What's the other? St. Mark's Pizza, St. Mark's Records. So this is like right by Greenwich Village. This this is like where I hung out mostly when I went to the city as a kid, as a teenager. A couple of bars that I went to later years were close by. There was some cool record stores, cool comic book stores. Some if you ever saw that movie Desperately Seeking Susan, Love Saves the Day, that it was like a thrift store. That's right by here. So this is an area that I like. This comic is bringing back memories. So that couple down there, I know them. So Spider-Man swings by. That's Colleen Wing and Scott Summers, aka Cyclops. I didn't know they were an item. I love his thoughts. Cyclops is Spider-Man's thinking. Hey, look, that's Scott Summers, aka Cyclops. Nobody thinks like that. Nobody talks like that. But what it does is it indicates to us. It's one of those comic book things. And I'm really digging this little Scott Summers, Colleen Wing romance. I forgot that it lasted this long. For those of you who don't know, Colleen Wing is one of the daughters of the dragon. her partner is Misty Knight, and they have Nightwing restorations. Then they're like problem solvers. And the fact that there isn't an HBO TV series about Colleen Wing and Misty Knight just shows that these people don't know their comic book history. They don't really know Marvel, because this is everything that they claim to want. It could be a woman-led series of minorities, because Colleen Wing is half Japanese, half white. Colleen Knight, Misty Knight rather, is a strong black woman, and they kick ass, and nobody could argue, And Colleen Wing is disabled because Misty Knight is disabled. She lost an arm. She's got a bionic arm. And then they could do kung fu. They could do Why is Marvel? Come on, man, get your crap together. This is everything you claim you want, and the fans would love it. I don't know about you, but we got a bunch of people in the chat. Let me know if you liked Colleen Wing and Misty Knight. I always thought they were cool. I was like excited to see them in every comic, because I don't know. I always like the lesser known characters. They were like, I'm gonna force an analogy over here. Spider-Man, Fantastic Four, the Hulk, the Avengers. Those were all bricks, and you can't have a wall without bricks. But all the secondary characters was the mortar that held it together and made the wall seem like a real solid wall. I know that's kind of forced, but I went to bed at 6 a.m. and woke up at 8:30. But I just loved it. I love this stuff. So now Spider-Man pops up. Hello, true believers. Long time. Hello. I haven't seen you since that fracas with the Steel Serpent. So that was Marvel Team Ups 64, and I haven't seen him since X-Men, The Lords of Lights and Darkness. That was Marvel Team Up Annual #1. What's new, Spider-Man? Not much. I was just passing by, and I thought I'd drop by and say hello. How are Misty Knight and Iron Fist? They still, passionately far out. Oops, I'm late. Got to be going. Troops, take care. That's right. I forgot that Iron Fist and Misty Knight, they were a couple. So there you go. You get out the interracial romance that TV seems to demand on every show and every commercial. It's got everything. Why aren't they making this? And now Spider-Man swinging away. So Spider-Man. So the garbage truck. The boss would give his soul to get his hands on that wall crawler again, but there's no time to chase after him. Colleen, you and Jane are the only girls I've ever dated. Jean, rather. Growing up in a state orphanage makes for a lousy love life. I hated that place. The only things that were truly yours were your own thoughts. I never told anyone this, not even Jean, but what was he going to say? Flang. So the garbage truck just Rover to Pinball Wizard. Another mission accomplished. Target 1 secured, proceeding to Target 2. And then we got Doctor Strange's house in the background. Again, I love when they do all the continuity. I love when they do all this continuity. Not too far away. It's a Flang. Where have I heard that before? Arcade. I thought that garbage truck looked familiar. It must be the one Arcade used to capture Captain Britain and me. That means he's probably grabbed whoever he's after, and I have a nasty feeling I know who it is. I love this Spider-Man. I love that they did this like skewed perspective, but then again, it's on a sloping roof, so it's right side. I could gush over this comic. The light and the shading over here. I love the buildings over here. I don't know. Part of me wonders if this is like an actual photograph that they did some filter on, or is it art? I don't know. Either way, it works. I know. I'm just really, really digging this. Really digging this. I love Colleen Wings and Scott. They got the bell bottoms on. Just so cool. Just I don't know. I just digging it. Nothing else to say. So here we got I think that's Terry. I think that's Dave Cockrum. I think that's Glynis Wynn, which begs the question: who is that? Maybe that's Terry Austin. I don't know. But usually when they do close-ups of civilians and they have like details, it's usually somebody from the pulpit, that they're just either goofing on or just whatever, borrowing a face. So, oh wow, we got a lot of comments. Oh, wow. Oh, I'm scrolling back. Once was cool says, "What's up, John and chat pals? Good morning." Nothing much on. I was just, like I said, I stayed up way too late. I was actually talking with Oscar, talking art with Oscar, and I stayed up too late writing a story. It's going to be an unheroic tales, the story of a villain. The name of the story is Who is Ian Strange. So when you read that story in a comic in the future, you can be like, "Oh, I remember the day he wrote it." First draft, it's rough. It's very rough. And when I reread it, I realized there's a couple of scenes that I wanted in the story aren't there. So I don't know if I could force them in or if the story doesn't need them. But one of the things in the story is the main villain doesn't come across as villainous enough. So I want to fix that. We got everybody saying hello to each other. Oscar. The most I remember was the onomatopoeia of the garbage trucks, but Mexico, it was clang. Oh, okay. This said clang in Mexican comics. Saflang, clang. The reason why they use saflang is it said saflang in the first appearance of Arcade in Marvel Team Up 64 with Spider-Man and Captain Britain. So it's a unique sound effect, a unique onomatopoeia. You don't get to say the word onomatopoeia a lot, and I'm so mad that Kevin Smith made up a villain called Onomatopoeia. I love that, and I can't stand Kevin Smith, and I don't want to give him credit. Just Kevin Smith is one of those people that just gets on my nerves, which happens a lot for Hollywood. I liked Kevin Smith for a little bit, but then he just grew insufferable. We got Dave Brink. Hello, hey Dave. You want to collaborate? Let's work out together. I know the whole crisis on Independent Earths is feasibly unworkable, but I wanted to see if people are interested, and if I saw that there was enough interest, maybe we could work the impossible. But me and you collaborate together. Like I already like how you came up with a story in like seconds. So let's talk. Pete Rock, my buddy Pete. Know him from real life. The greatest place to hang out back then, Red Lion Pub, Tower Records, Village Vanguard. Oh, I forgot about Tower Records. Yeah, Tower Records is nearby, or was nearby. Oh man, did I spend many an hour in Tower Records. Yeah. Yep, good call, Pete. Forgot about Tower Records. Kenny's Castaways. Yep, I remember that. Yep, good. There's a bunch of downtown Beirut. Red Rock West was a little higher up. But there was a lot of good. The Patriot, the less said, the better. And Dirty Bikes, the less said, the better. Hey, Pete Rock. This was one of my first X-Men comics I read. I love the arcade villain with the silly games. Yeah, I know. Mean Lord Woodrow, how you doing? Mean Lord, how's he doing? Mean Lord Woodrow will be my guest. We'll have a conversation Thursday at midnight Eastern Standard Time. Looking forward to it. It's a cultural thing between generations. The same thing happened with Elvis Presley. Ultimately, the younger generation won. Well, is this the second half of a conversation, or did I say something that I don't remember? Can you clarify that? I'm kind of curious what you meant. I'm sleepy. Maybe I said something and you're responding to me and I forgot what I said already. Research says that Terry Austin penciled 13 comic stories. Oh, okay. Ironwood sounds like a superhero name, maybe for a tree or elf themed character. Yeah, I think it's from Catherine Ironwood, but everybody said Ironwood because we read it. We didn't have the internet. We didn't talk to her in person until then. But Catherine Ironwood is one of the most important people in comics that people don't know about. She was an early editor. She started out as a letter hack, and then she became the editor for Eclipse Comics. Her and Dean Mulaney, her then husband, they started Eclipse, and Eclipse is one of the most important comic book companies of all time. As far as I know, and Marcus could correct me if I'm wrong, it is the first creator-owned comic book store, and it was direct market. Basically invented the creator-owned comics and the direct market. John and gang were also solving the mystery of Tartaria. How many other countries get their own captain character? Yeah, there's Captain America, there's Captain Britain. Speaking of which, here's Captain Britain right here. I just got this the other day. from England. Look at that. Fantastic Four. Nick Fury, Agent of S.H.I.E.L.D. Look at that. Look at that, Captain Britain. So whenever I put it in order for back issues, which I just got my order for back. I haven't ordered any back issues since I started fulfillment of my comic for Rogue Tales 2. So this was a pretty big box of back issues that I just got. Let's great cover. All right, let's turn the page. I've spent a long time on this page. So now we got advertisement. We got Buck Rogers rockets. We got me coughing. We got this fruit stripe bubble gum that was like, as soon as you opened it up, you put it in your mouth like, oh, that's delicious. Oh, flavor's gone. Like it was instantly flavorless. You know, it was like a burst of flavor. That was it. That's why we don't see it anymore. So Scott and Cully, they're gone. No sign of the truck either. Everything disappeared except so this is just, this bothers me, and it didn't bother me as a kid, but it's bothering me now, especially after I've been up all night thinking, oh, this scene doesn't make sense. Because again, I think all of us, Dave could back us up. He's a good writer. That we all have a plot in our head when we go to start writing the story, but you don't just write the plot and insert the characters and have the characters just on train tracks following the plot along. You know, the characters, if you have any real characters, the characters start to mess things up and do things differently, especially if you put some thought and the characters have a personality, especially if it's a character that you wrote about for a while. They start to become their own thing. So the plot never goes as smoothly, at least for me, as you planned it. And that's to be expected. To me, that's the way it should be. But this is, Chris Claremont had a plot. And in this plot, the X-Men get captured. Because how did Spider-Man, okay, I could see Spider-Man swinging by the truck and didn't notice anything. I could see Spider-Man not notice it, and then all of a sudden he heard this is flying and he goes back. But how did this garbage truck just disappear in Manhattan? Have you ever driven through Manhattan? I don't care. It's nighttime in Greenwich Village. There's still traffic. You know, unless it's going through red lights. But how did it disappear? I'll tell you how it disappeared. Plot. So this is Chris Claremont forcing the plot. How did Spider-Man not see? You know, it happened. He reacted. Spider-Man's got super agility. Boom, he's there, and the plot and the truck's gone. I'm calling BS. That is the plot dictating what happens because we need to get to the next scene. You know what I mean? Colleen Scarf. This looks bad. Arcade could be after the X-Men. Iron Fist. Any number of people. And it's better to stop making phone calls. I gotta give a lot of folks warning. So this is now Lincoln Center. You know, I like where they use real Manhattan. This is where the premiere performance of the Bolshoi Ballet's American tour, and we have some old dear friends. Mr. Wagner, Mr. Rasputin, I'm Miss Locke. Follow me, please. You know, they don't know, but Miss Locke is the gorgeous sidekick of Arcade. You know, what was the woman's name in The Incredibles? The blonde, the platinum blonde. You know, there's always the sexy sidekick in all these. Kurt Wagner and Peter Rasputin, perhaps better known as Nightcrawler and Colossus. I'm afraid that Professor Xavier's private box is being refurbished, but the director hopes that this one will serve as well. A private box, wow. And it literally is a box. They go in there. Now, again, plot. You tell me when they opened the door, they didn't notice that it was just an empty steel room. You know what I mean? And then also plot. This is the first appearance of Amanda Stefton, Kurt Wagner's girlfriend, and then kind of sister. Gross, but that's the way it is. And later on, she becomes a full-on sorceress. But she's not now, because if she was, how did she get captured? I'll tell you how she got captured. Plot is how she got captured. You know, never mind that character development. We need plot right here. So I don't know what Colossus's girlfriend's name is, but I think later on, when we reveal all the hostages, it's Alanya, his little sister, which begs the question, what happened to his girlfriend? So keep that in mind next week when we go to the next issue. What happened to Colossus's girlfriend? Teleport out of here, Kurt, and I'll try to smash gas. Turn to Colossus, Peter, quickly before they go. In all a matter of seconds, it's over. Dragon Lady to Pinball Wizard. Mission accomplished. Targets 3 and 4 secured. Take them away. Your wish is our command. Toodaloo. So, nobody noticed this, that there's a helicopter. It's Manhattan. You know what I mean? I know I'm being nitpicky, but this kind of stuff bothers me. The Japanese consulate on Park Avenue. Thank you for dinner, Mariko. I can't remember when I enjoyed a meal more. I'm glad, Logan-san. May I see you again? Yes, I hope soon. Far flaming out. I love like comic book tough guy talk. Far flaming out. Cripes. The more I see Mariko, the more I want to see her. She's like no woman I've ever known. Cripes. She reaches parts of my skull I never knew existed. Got a light, pal? Sure. Nice night, It'll do. Thing is, what comes next? Every day, living day by day, is fine for broads like Crackle and Rosa, or maybe even Jean Grey, but not Mariko Yashida. Behind Wolverine, unnoticed, certain garbage truck guns its motor and begins moving down the street towards him. Dun, dun, dun. Now, this one I buy. This one I buy because Logan is head over heels right now. He's completely distracted. He's in a rare good mood. All senses are deactivated. He's just on cloud 9. And this guy came over here. Wolverine light gives him a light. You know what I mean? Who knows? Did that guy drug him? Did that guy, does he have like a gas container or something like that? So I'll buy this one. This one works for me. Wolverine is completely off guard. I mean, these guys are completely off guard. But look at the nature of this trap. They all 4 of them walk in the room before they're like, hey, the first person should have been like, what's going on? But this one I buy. So let's check out the comments. We got Marcus Kellogrew giving us the link to the Kickstarter for Dave Briggs' Perfect 10, issues 1 to 6. Collect it. He's the best superhero guy right now. Best superhero comics right now. Great art, great coloring, good characters, good stories. So I highly recommend. You were saying that Marvel was sleeping on the daughter's dragon. I was talking about the writers Disney. Oh, okay. Let me go back to your comment on the pro. It's a cultural thing between generations. Same thing happens with Elvis Presley. Ultimately, yeah. Okay, I get it. Okay. You were saying, yeah, they're sleeping on the daughter's dragon. This is exactly what they say they want. And it would work. The magic garbage truck is coming. It's coming, the magic garbage truck. Spider-Man is making the connection with Arcade here, right? Yep, I found that remarkable too. He could not have logically deduced that. I think he meets new villains every week. Yeah, but yes. The thing is that Arcade is repeating himself. He heard Saflang, and in hindsight, he recognized the garbage. So he's, Saflang, I captured my garbage truck. There was a garbage truck right there. I'll buy that. But I'm not buying that the truck disappeared, especially with Spider-Man. With his vantage point, his speed, and his senses, there's no way. That is BS. Peter's on a first-name basis with everybody. Peter Parker or Peter Rasputin? Peter Parker, yeah. Thank you, Marcus. People in New York have tunnel vision and bystander syndrome. Yes, they do. Absolutely, they do. Let's go. Continued on this after the second page following. I love that they have to do that. Like, where's my comic book? Where's my comic book? What happened? The Art of John Buscema. Pete Rose, batting practice. 1979, Turco Manufacturing Company. It's great too, because if you can see, there's a little dial over here of how much you could gamble. You could put money into it. You speak into the Pete Rose face. Give me 5-1 odds, and then you stick $1 into it, and the bottom spits out whether you win or lose. I joke. That's about all the. That's the extent of the baseball humor that I can make up. I don't know baseball that much. So now we come to Gray Malkin Lane, a winding country road leading out of the Westchester County township of Salem Center. Now, Westchester County is a real place. I don't know if there is a Gray Malkin Lane, but it's Marvel. They kind of use real places, then fudge it a little bit. But I wonder if this is real schematics for a real house. But I do like that it's consistent. It's like over here is Aurora's attic. You know, they have like a little like greenhouse out back here. The house always looks kind of realistic, and then the inside is always like this room. This is like the fourth time we've seen this room in the in the X-Men comics. You know, I like that. It makes it feel realistic. The old telephone. So as such, it is protected by an array of security systems so complex and sophisticated that even the X-Men themselves should be unable to break in undetected. The system is virtually foolproof. Or is it? I must have dozed off, with all due apologies to James Joyce. That'll teach me to read Finnegan's Wake in front of a roaring fire. Glory, the phone. I'm with you on this one. I don't know how many times I tried to read it with Ulysses, and I just can't. James Joyce puts me to sleep. I'm not saying he's a bad writer. I'm just saying he puts me to sleep. Oh, man. So I gave up. I went through a phase where I was like, I got to read all the highfalutin literature. And Proust and James Joyce, I just can't get through. Sorry. I still got to read Moby Dick, and I still have to read the Brothers Karamazov. Still got to read. Still got the books upstairs. I hope it ain't trouble. We had a pretty easy the past few weeks getting the mansion and our heads in order. It'll be sorry to see our vacation end. Seems the older I guess, the less eager I am to play superhero. Yet, if I retired, I think the boredom would catch me alive. So, if you remember, in issue 119, Banshee lost his powers battling Moses Magnum. He could whisper, and then one of the things I really like is this feeling of consequences. Banshee did a power stunt, matched Moses Magnum, and rebound his abilities back onto him, saving Japan, and damaged himself. So he couldn't talk for a couple of issues. Then he whispered, and now he's talking. He still hasn't used his sonic powers yet, but we'll see. And then Storm. Sean, the telephone. Will you answer, please? Sean, Banshee. Devils take the man. He must have gone out. It never fails. That infernal device always rings at an inconvenience. Oh, yeah. So we got Arcade himself shooting Banshee with, it's supposed to be a drug gun, but it could, it looks like a laser, but it's a drug. Never fails. That infernal. I wish Sean could told me he was leaving. I would have postponed my bath. Be still. I'm coming. Sleepy by honey child. And then he picks up the phone. It's Professor Xavier's mansion. Anyone there? Hello? Thanks heavens, I'm in time. This is Spider-Man. Scott Summers has been kidnapped by a crazy assassin for hire named Arcade. I think he may be gunning for the X-Men. And then Arcade picks up the phone. That is just great. That is great comic books right there. So the phone is tying in. Spider-Man saw Cyclops getting captured. He's calling the X-Men. And, in the midst of him calling, Arcade's like, you got a wall crawler. I'm gunning for the X-Men. Trouble is, your warning comes a wee bit too late. That's like a horror movie. That is great. Yeah. And then I remember, like I said, I've seen this room so many times, like Storm's out. And there we go. Storm is sexy. Nobody draws Storm like John Byrne. He even put in like little nipples there. I was like, "Ooh, this little kid." Yes, they overly sexualize Storm, and you know what? That's okay. The male gaze sells comics. I even put little notes. Make sure she looks sexy in this panel. Things like that. The bad guy. One scene just for the hell of it. It's in a strip club, in the script that I wrote last night. They're sitting at the bar, and you just see the legs. You see that scene in so many movies. Why? Because it works. It works. Arcade could have killed the X-Men one by one instead of capturing them. He did that. He did what many more powerful villains consistently failed to do. Yeah, why? Because the plot. The plot. Banshee just sat here telling us that this system was impregnable. Nobody could get in. It's so sophisticated, blah, 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 blah. And then here's Arcade. So it's kind of like the plot is, this is the best system in the world. It's so good. It's made by geniuses, except that it's not. But it also lets us know the level of intellect on Arcade. He's a silly character, and he's a limited character. Arcade doesn't work that well. This story works really well. But, the story Arcade works really well, but he's a limited use character. But it also shows us how smart this goofy character is. And I always thought he looked like Harrison Ford here in a weird way. Last comment before I do there's 2 comments before I turn the page. I really enjoy when a superhero does a power stunt, doing a completely new move like Banshee. It's character growth. Yes. At the risk of talking about my role-playing game again, I incorporated rules for power stunts. One-off shots where you could do something different, more powerful, unique, and there's rules for it, and there's consequences for it. I think this issue was Byrne's peak. Yeah, I'm not going to argue. This I'm going to say like this whole 10 issues around here is Byrne's peak. I think Byrne peaked around 137. But yeah, I'm not going to argue. Around here is so good. I don't mind those comics. We should go along with it and just enjoy. Yep. That's why. The rule of cool. The rule of cool. I'm trying to think if I ever just had my characters just like, forget it. I need this to happen for the plot. Not yet. I don't think. Now we got some Star Wars toys. I had all of these. Star Wars toys. Yeah, that takes me back. There's a case for them all. Wow, $7 for these ships. That is so cool. The TIE Fighter was $13. Oh, the collector's case was $7. The X-Wing fighter was $14, and the Land Speeder was only $7. Wow. $3 a piece for these action figures. And then we wear spot built just like OJ, because little kids want to grow up and be like OJ. I still do, right? We all want to be like OJ Simpson. Look at he's the man. And these sneakers, you want to wear OJ, because these shoes, if they fit, you can't commit murder. There we go. OJ jokes. So the last scene was Arcade. I'm gutting for them, and when I'm done with them, Spidey, I'm coming after you. Oh no! And he just smashes the telephone booth. That is just so cool. Time passes and Scott Summers wakes up to a Stygian darkness. That's the first time I ever heard the word Stygian. I distinctly remember looking up the word Stygian, trying to figure out what they were talking about, and falling in love with the word Stygian. And then shortly after this, in Dungeons & Dragons, I saw the second use of the word Stygian in the Stygian Devil in the Monster Manual. And Stan Lee was 100% right when he said to Martin Goodman, kids aren't stupid, they'll look up a word, because he wanted to name the X-Men the mutants. And they said, no, nobody knows what that word means. And Stan Lee said, they'll look it up. And Stan Lee is 100% right. The X-Men kind of is a goofy name. We're just used to it. We're used to it. So we don't really examine it. But the mutants would have been a better name. The mutants. That would have been such a better name. Creepy, scary. X-Men is like I said, we're used to it now. It just shows you like the power of like repetition, like Chuck Dixon's Horseman for Ripper Comics. I thought it was terrible. I was like, oh man. And then I was just like, I just don't think it's going to work. Like, I kind of remember, like, oh, poor Chuck, you're going to get teased. And now, after like a year I read the comics. I read 2 of the comics. I don't think I read 3 yet. I read 2. I liked them, and now just hearing it all the time, seeing it all the time, seeing the character, I just kind of accept him for what he is, and I don't think it's a goofy name anymore. It's just another superhero name. But I love this. So we see like the light from Cyclops' eyes. My head feels like I remember being attacked by a garbage truck, hit by some kind of nerve gas, knocked out before it could fire an optic blast. So just telling us all what just happened. Colleen, the lights, good Lord. The X-Men were all in uniform, all sealed inside these lucite spheres. What goes on here anyway? We're in some sort of tunnel. We better get burst out fast before our unknown host makes his move. We're all awake, Arcade. Thank you, Miss Locke. Systems up to date, Mr. Chambers. All readings nominal. You can start whenever. All right, my friends, that's just what I wanted to hear. So he has a pinball machine in front of him. He pulls back. For those of you who've never played pinball, you pull back on the lever hits the spring, and it sends the board into the pinball. And he's got a, so this miniature one activates this large one. Welcome to Murder World, where nobody ever survives. One after another, the balls shoot up and onto a giant pinball machine. It's really goofy. But it works. Again, Arcade is a limited premise villain. Like nowadays, he shouldn't even work anymore. Now, what do they do? Like Squid Game? I don't even know what was the last time. The last time I saw Arcade was in a comic. What was it called? I think it was like Avengers Academy or something like that. And it was all kids superheroes that were captured and thrown on an island. And like forced, it was like Hunger Games kind of thing, and it was Arcade had like godlike powers. They had to change the premise because kids don't know arcades anymore. Like pinball is such a dated reference. But I would have kept him exactly like this and had him show up once in a blue moon, maybe as like a can't think of anything now. I can't think of anything to do now. I'm going to do my Arcade story, and it's going to be just exactly like this. Pinball, the ball, and everything like that. The only thing that'll be different are the traps, But this is his name is Arcade. His name's not all powerful Squid Game guy. So boom, bing, bing. As they hit these bumpers, they give it electric shocks that keep them stunned, and then they're rolling around. And I imagine the balls are wonky because these can't be perfectly weight distributed. As the character, you have a hollow ball and you put something like human shaped in, it's going to flop around. So I imagine the balls wobble around and everything. That's just me being crazy. And then bing, 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 bing. And I love how they just happen to each go down the proper hole. You know what I mean? Like 2 of them don't go down that hole and then nobody in that hole. But that's the way that's the way it works. That's the way it is. Wow, Storm's really giving it all. Again, yeah, John Byrne. Nobody drew Storm better than John Byrne. I don't care what anybody else says. How much you think all of Arcade's equipment would cost in today's dollar? I know. He spends. This is just like not to be current event political, but this is just like a Jeffrey Epstein operation. Like this guy just enjoys it. Yeah, I guess Jeffrey Epstein made money doing what he has, but just the amount of money, billions of dollars to Arcade is. Let's be realistic. Arcade is one of the most unrealistic supervillains in the world. Like he must spend billions of dollars to earn millions of dollars in a hit. You know what I mean? Every time he goes on a hit, he loses money. But he's a psycho and he just loves it. Now, to me, in my mind, I always filled in the gap is he must have so many normal civilian hits that we just don't see. We only see when he goes after Spider-Man or Captain Britain or Captain America or but he must have cheating husbands, mob hits and stuff like that he just gets paid, but he doesn't have to use this elaborate, maybe he has this big pinball machine that's built. He starts off every hit like that. And then the traps and tricks are more mundane, and that's how he pays the bills, And then this is for fun. Now he rules a virtual digital world. Yeah, they had to. They had to. That's kind of what they did. That's what I remember. Yeah, probably. Yeah. Stippling Vaughn, how you doing, Stippling? Stippling's another artist who's working on the printer's demo as we speak. Today, Arcade would stream it. It will bring people. Oh, that's a good idea. So he streams it and has it on a gambling app on the dark. You got to say dark web, on the dark web. Okay, that's a good idea. I didn't think of that. That is, yeah. Where he sells videos. Back then it would be like completely black video cassettes. You know what this is. So let's go to the next page. Man, I loved all this. We're off and running, folks. Oh, and so far I'm not impressed. When I tussled with Spider-Man, he broke free of his ball. The game, because Spider-Man is powerful superhero. So we got Cyclops just falling into debris. Not the gentlest was landing, but maybe that's just what I needed to. The mixture of fear and pain cleared the cobwebs out of my head. I'm still not sure what's going on, but at least now I think I've got an even chance. How do, Cyclops? Welcome to the Lady of the Tiger Room. You have 3 choices. One's a way out. The other 2 lead to horrible deaths. The choice is yours. My pleasure. And you just need to give you an incentive to make up your mind. You should know that there's a trigger relay connecting the doors with the hydraulic ram. The second you open a door or blast it with your eye beams, that moving wall will slam the rest of the way across the room. That gives you 1 play. Make it count. So there you go. So he's in a room. If he opens, 1 door is to freedom. The other door, if he opens them, this boom, it just squashes him like a bug. And as you can see, it's slowly closing. Slowly close. This design of the room is to show you that it's so good. Of course, what he doesn't realize that behind each door is a concrete wall. Sure, there's a way out of that trap, but he won't find it by trusting me. So it's, And then Colossus, absolute darkness. I can't see a thing. I have no idea where I am or how large this room is. Now I must do something. My friends are in danger. And then we have, translated from Spanish. Pyotr Novelich, Asputin, be seated. I have a voice that speaks Russian. Greetings, young comrade. I trust you are comfortable. You will be here a while. Who are you and how do you know my name? I know all there is about you. I am Colonel Alexei Vagzian of the KGB. You're here, Pyotr, to answer charges that you are a traitor. Why are those lights? I can't see. Oh, the sudden lack of cooperation makes me wonder perhaps the charges are true. I'm no traitor. Then you have nothing to fear from me or the lights. You are a loyal son of Mother Russia. So we have a classic, KGB interrogation scene happening here. Which shows that Arcade knows everything about these guys. Everything about these guys. So let's check out the comments. He's saying hello to Stippling. That's Mojo's. So Mojo gave him an upgrade in powers and abilities and everything like that. It's the only thing that makes sense. Unless they retroactively said he was a mutant. So, okay, I can buy that. I don't like it, but I can buy it. Like the holodeck in Star Trek. Okay, they got to give him an upgrade. Maybe it makes sense. I don't know. So we got this chromy plastic shield. It just drives me nuts that they just didn't make it look like Captain America's shield. I mean, they had a softball and they whiffed it. And then elsewhere, a funhouse, Hall of Mirrors. That makes sense. The only way out, so it's got to be a trap. And subtlety ain't my style. I'll pull my way through, see what happens. And that sound, what the flaming? Crazy shaped images of me, complete with claws popping out of the mirrors. Well, you bozos better know how to use them. So we got distorted Wolverines just coming out of the mirror. I mean, at this point, they might as well have Arcade be a sorcerer, right? All they do, Wolverine, and you'll see instant androids. I love them. But it's time I changed channels and looked on the X-Men's pet demon Nightcrawler. And the lights turn on. Boom. What is this? At least I know where I am. Not that that does me any good. And this one I really, really like. This is a great, great trap. It's a great trap because it illustrates the limitations that have already been established on Nightcrawler's powers. It's just so cool. So cool. Byrne's storytelling is on point. Yes, this is great storytelling. It's been years since I read this comic, and it's instantly coming back because the storytelling is so good. The entire brainwashing of Colossus is great writing by Claremont. Colossus becoming proletarian was incredible. Yeah, I know. It's so good. So good. So, oh no. We got a commercial break. We got the Micronauts and the Man Thing. Bill Bantlow, Michael Golden, Joseph Rubenstein. Just great comics. You know, God willing, we got time in the world. I'll do the X-Men, the series of Micronauts, just like I do the X-Men. We got Cylon Riders and Peanut Butter Cups. So we have the room's bowl-shaped like like a bicycle racing track back home, but there's got to be more to it than that. I had to ask. Things coming out of the war remind me of Carnival Dodgem cars, but the Dodgems I knew weren't equipped with buzzsaws and teeth. Now, this is cool in two ways. There's a great trap. So it's like bumper cars, but with razors, and so they're trying to kill. But also, I didn't know this at the time, and I only knew this just recently. John Byrne's first comic was Wheelie and the Chopper Bunch. So this is Wheelie, but drawn all sinister. So this is John Byrne homaging himself, his first professional work in comics, his first series. I think he did like 7 or 8 issues of Wheelie and the Chopper Bunch. So he teleports up to the roof, sticks to the roof, but the cars can come and buzzsaws. And time to go. I do hate the sight of blood. On to Banshees. So now Banshee's just in a room. It's all gray. You know, this one is like the closest to the holodeck, and this is before the holodeck. Like I said, show me something you saw in a TV or show, and I'll show you beforehand. This is years before the holodeck, and boom, Saints above Stukas. I'm being strafed. The plane's battlefield appeared out of nowhere. Everything looks so real, yet there's a touch of wacko to it. And without my power, I can't tell what's an illusion and what's real. I guess so. He's just he's stuck in the middle of World War II. Bye, Banshee. I'll come back to you in a bit. Assuming, of course, you're still alive. Meanwhile, I got more fish to fry. I figure I've been saving the best for last. I hope Storm doesn't disappoint me. Everything's happening so fast. I'm still hurt from that drug dart. So now they clarified that they were shot with a drug dart rather than lasers. And the walls are so close, like a steel box. Oh, what's the matter? It's frightened. That voice again. Could it be your quarters? A touch of claustrophobia? Well, we can improve that. The floor, it's some sort of trap. So she's trapped in a steel box. Her claustrophobia is kicking in. She's all off balance. She's drugged. She's claustrophobic. She's kind of freaking out. This is vulnerable Storm. This isn't the all-powerful goddess Storm like she evolved. This is the X-Men as men and humans. And then the door flips over and she goes into the water. Just a simple, elegant trap. So good. Well, it's a free Shield if you subscribe to 3 Marvel comics. They're selling subscriptions, not the Shield. I know, but I wanted a Captain America Shield, not a Shield with Hulk's face on it. Neil Adams inked that Swamp Thing over Golden. Oh, okay. Wheelie and the Chopper Bunch, it was a cartoon of an anthropomorphic cars, and the bad guys were anthropomorphic motorcycles. And Wheelie was a good-natured, lovable little scamp, and hit him in this like hot little coupe car would drive around and go on dates and have adventures, and the Chopper Bunch would mess it up. It was a crummy little Saturday morning cartoon. I think it lasted 1 season, and Charlton Comics made a comic book about it, and it's some of John Byrne's earliest work. It's his first monthly series, and I had to pick them all up because I'm such a John Byrne freak. Let's turn the page. Watch some girly films, stag films on some Super 8 and the Adventures of Grit Boy. This always freaked me out as a kid. I thought this was like, wow, Superman's in a Marvel comic, but it's get a rock that has some phosphorescent green spray paint all over it. Yay, it's kryptonite. So now Storm. I'm still too weak, had no chance to react to that door. The light in here so dim, I could see the water below me, but not the room itself. What? I'm falling. Some kind of negative air effect is canceling out the ability to glide on the winds. I'm just trying to create an updraft, but something is frightening me. Something is fighting me. It doesn't feel like a natural force. It must be an artificial mechanism. I mustn't let it pull me below the water. So I have to find the booby trap door, blast my way out. So she shoots lightning, and it reflects back on her. Around the body, Aurora's mutant metabolism generates a positive electron field, hurtling accumulated energy from her awesome bolts of lightning, only to have those bolts reflected back at her. So whoa. So this is creating tension. They're all trapped. What's going on? They're all separated. Their weaknesses are being used against them. So I love this. Oh, I still have to comment on it. Meanwhile, back at square one, I can't wait much longer to make up my mind. And I also can't shake my instinctive distrust of this arcade character. So you see that the wall's moving in. This diamond shaped is falling away. That's a great visual clue to show us that the room is getting smaller. And then you see the debris being swept up. It's just so cool. Even if he's telling the truth about the doors, even if I get lucky, pick the right one, I'll just be playing into his hands. I bet the only chance is to break those rules. So you can see he's shooting at the wall rather than the doors. What's going on? Holding my own for now, but each time I scrag one of these robots, out pops a replacement, stronger and faster than the one before. They keep working as a team, handing me and keeping me from smashing the mirrors or getting the exit. What's that? Boom! Psych, I hate to say it, boss, but for once I'm glad to see you. Likewise, Wolverine, you okay? So he blasts through the wall and inadvertently saves Wolverine. Your optic blast must have zapped the machinery. These flaky mirrors have stopped growing robots, which is just fine with me. Come on, let's make tracks before those freaked out funhouse mirrors any more surprises. Wolverine, I'm ahead of you. Someone's in the shadows. No sweat. I already got it sent. It's that to me, maybe I forget. Do you guys know in the past, did Wolverine mention sense? I think he did. I think he did pick up. So he's got the scent he picks up. He knows it's Colossus, so he drops his guard. He's happy, and boom. Oh, we got comments over here. Neil Adams inked that Swamp Thing over gold. Oh, yes. Wheelie the Chopper. What's the consensus on Man Thing? I don't know what the consensus is, but I freaking loved it. It's one of my favorite comics. The first 11 issues is just gold. It's so good. I did Sunday Comics. I picked a couple of issues here and there, but maybe after the Avengers, I don't know. One of these days, I'd like to do the full 11 issue run, every week on Sunday Comics for those Micronauts. They're so good. They're so good. Interesting. I assume you're commenting on my description of Wheelie and the Chopper Bunch. So what do we got here? We got the Boltons. This is Stan Lee talking directly to us. Like I said a million times, there's no way in the world I would have read this as a kid, but I read it now. And then this is just in-house news, what's going on at Marvel Comics, followed by the Antichrist of comics, Herbie the Robot. Some cool Thing action, although, Ben, you disappoint me with these apple pies. You really disappoint me with the apple pies. So, dun, dun, dun! Psych. This is crazy. That ain't one of Arcade robots. That's really Colossus. I am no longer the X-Men Colossus, a traitor to his motherland and to his people. I am the proletarian, workers' hero of the Soviet Union. And my first mission is to smash the X-Men. And I love this. Oh, boy, this is great. Enjoying yourselves, darlings? Miss Amanda, Miss Colleen, Miss Betsy? I sure hope so, because I'm having the time of my life. You see, before my brainwashing wears off, I figure Colossus will kill the X-Men or they'll be forced to kill him. Either way, they lose, and Arcade wins. He only laughs when I hurt. So Betsy must be Colossus's date. And as far as I know, this is the last time we saw her. She's like, I ain't dealing with you anymore. Last time I dated you, I got held up as a hostage. So, again, later on, it's revealed that Amanda Stefton is this minor sorceress, which would have came in handy right now, right? So I always like to check out the names. We got Joan Ludlow, Susan Jarowski, and Verdi. You know, what are the odds? Women wrote the letters. You know, I'm sure they fished for them. You know, they got 62 letters. 4 of them were for women. The 4 women letters made it to the X-Men. I don't know. For all I know, they were the best written. Who am I? But there you go. This was such a good comic. So fun. You know, like Oscar said, this is Byrne at the top of his game. This is Claremont railroading us a little bit with the plot, but you know what? It's so good. I don't mind. I'm noticing. I'm not complaining. I'm noticing. So there you go. What do you think of this? Raise your hand if you've never seen this comic before. I see Dave said that this was what your first X-Men comic. So good, so good. I love this. And Oscar, this was you got this in Mexico. You said in Spanish. Was it its own thing? Was it its own comic, or did it come packaged with other comics? Person turquoise waving speech. Kyojo speaks in a stilted letter, a stilted language of his own. Oh, Oscar has a comment. Is it true that most of them were written by staff in the bullpen? I don't know. I can't confirm or deny, but sometimes, like, there was rumors that if they didn't get letters or if the letters were garbage that month, they wrote their own letters and put fake names. So I don't know. I don't know what's real letters, but I know that they did do that. Too many people have admitted it. Chuck Dixon said that CrossJed that a lot of times they wrote their own letters, and under fake names. And I know like Roy Thomas have said that they have jazzed up letters, just wrote letters whole cloth. But so I don't know which letters are real. I would assume, let's take a look. This is my educated guess. Where is it? Now when it says no address given, that those are probably made up. And like Verde with the real address, that's probably a real letter. That's my guess. That's my educated guess. That's my hypothesis. I wonder who came up with the proletariat, Byrne or Claremont. I don't know. How often am I live? Well, I do the Sunday comics every week at 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, so that you can always catch me there. And until I'm done with the schedule, which just got extended to middle of April, so February, March, so another 2 months, they extend it in 2-month bursts. So for until April, I can only stream noon Eastern Standard Time or midnight Eastern Standard Time because of my work schedule. So until April, I will stream every Wednesday night at midnight Eastern with RJ, and I do comic book team up. That's me and RJ for the Fourth Age talk. And then Friday nights, I'm live doing It's Clobbering Time, where we talk about comic book battles and stuff. Marcus is usually with me and Tony Grigo, but that's an open invite show. Anybody can join that. And then this Thursday at midnight, I'll be with a meme Lord Woodrow, and so that's what I'm live. So I'm live usually 3-4 times a week. I read that X-Men comic so much I had to buy new ones. I think that's what happened here because this is in really good shape, and this is way before I bagged the boarded comics. I think they got them from the classic X-Men reprints. Okay. But my question is, like, when you bought this, was it just an X-Men comic, or was it X-Men with the Avengers and stuff? Like, was it an anthology? There are lots of famous letter hacks, including Kate Ironwood, so some of the letters are real. Yeah, some of the letters are real, like Malcolm Bourne, T.M. Maple. I'm blanking out, but there's a lot of letter. At this point, I remember saying I wanted to be a letter hack and then never writing letters. You know what I mean? So, like, you want to be a letter hack, you got to put in the work. But letter hacks were people who wrote a lot of letters and they got published. And after a while, people started recognizing the letter. You're like, oh, cool. There's a letter from T.M. Maple. There's a letter from Malcolm Bourne. Now, T.M. Maple was the Mad Maple. He was a comic book store owner in I think Toronto. I think the Silver Snail, which I've been to, but I could be wrong. But legend has it that he read, he worked in a comic book store, so he all day long he read comics, and he wrote a letter for every comic that he read. So you'll see his name in DC and Marvel and Cerebus, and in First Comics and Eclipse Comics, and he got to be such a famous letter hack that he was being mailed copies of comics previews. They would photocopy him, so he would get photocopy scans before the comic come out, so that issue 1 could have a well-written letter. So that's why you see a lot of first issue comics had T.M. Maple and Malcolm Bourne letters already. Like because they were so famous as a letter hack that it paid off. And then T.M. Maple just suddenly stopped. He had a heart attack and died. Eating Twinkies and reading comic books is not the most healthy lifestyle. I gotta keep that in mind. Kate Ironwood, which I've already talked about earlier. See you later. So Omnipro is leaving, and at that point, I've been talking for an hour and 15. I'll keep talking as long as the comments keep going. The comments die down, I'll stop. I will take a sip of coffee. Okay, looks like we're done here. Oh, came in just under the wire. In the 80s, Novedad's editores, I'm sure I butchered that, published Marvel. We got X-Men, Fantastic Four, West Coast Avengers mixed with regular Avengers and Spider-Woman. Cool. I kind of fascinated with Mexican comics. Oscar here sent me the Santo and Caliban comics. They were a lot of fun, along with his comic, the Dr. Mysterio. A lot of fun. And Oscar, your package is on the way. I mailed you and Renzo a box of comics and T-shirts and stickers and stuff, cards, basically everything that I do, and it's in customs, and it's been in customs for days. So I just hope it doesn't get returned. Bob Brody, Kurt Busiek, etc. Yeah, good. These are all great comic book artists and writers. So, yes. Bob Brody, yes, okay. I was like, why is he just randomly mentioned? They were also letter hacks. Bob Brody was also a letter hack. I love checking out the names and seeing pros names. Kurt Busiek, I see Kurt Busiek's name every once in a while. Keith Giffen, I saw his name in comics. Jim Starlin's name I saw in comics. Older comics, and there's one that I'm missing, but there's a few. Alex Ross. You could see. I get a kick out of that when you see future pros, as fans in comics. So, and it's good to see you, Michael Hart. So there you go. All right, I think I'm gonna go. I gotta go back to bed. I've only been awake for 2 hours, so at this point, I will say goodbye, kids.
Goodbye, kids.